What's up, guys? It's Ninja Ona Ninja, and basically, to everybody watching, I'm recording, just to let you know. Um, this will be live on YouTube. So, anyways, I not live record. Shut up. Anyways, the point is, I was watching this video, and it's pissing
Did
me
you
off
come from? Yeah.
because everybody wants to talk about what's right and what's wrong and about news and propaganda and science this and Russia that and China and news and broadcasting about everyone wants to come out of the woodwork now, but the point is back then they were shut up about it and they were fine with it. I will ride the wave of this because I can make money off of that, or blah, and just endless. Or I'm going to shut up about this because I don't want to risk people, turning their back on me because I made my stance clear. And some people feel this way, and some people feel that way. So I want to reach both of them. So I'm not going to say anything. Like now, people are fucking coming out of the woodwork and taking a stand. Now that there's like almost nothing left. Now there's nobody left, and now they're finally taking a stand. Like, oh god, I'm about to die. Now here I stand. Like, this is the hill you die on. The last hill you have power on. Like, I've been saying this for years upon years, dude. I'm literally like a League of Legends champion, Briar or whoever, and I'm staying alive at like 50 HP because at 50 HP, my regeneration is at 50 HP a second. So every second I get that life back, and every second I lose that HP. And the point is like how like to the core involved I am, and how much I can lose and how much I can gain, and as far as that whole thing goes. But the point is, I'm sorry about that. By the way, this is because I drool and I talk. I can't help it. But basically, the point is, like it's safe now, but where the fuck were you 10 years ago, 15 years ago? When this stuff was first happening, where the fuck were you? And you shut up for so long, the whole fucking world suffered because you kept your mouth shut. You were so eager to save your fucking pot of gold that the whole world is fucking robbed, and now that they're after your pot of gold, like I'm gonna post a video at the end of this video. It's called "Don't Be a Sucker." You motherfuckers are the people that backed up when you should have said something. And then I am getting my head cut off. I'm like, why aren't you saying anything, you fucking cowards? And you didn't say anything. You never did it. Now finally you do.
Universes, depending on what news outlets or
So just real quick, she said, listen,
we are literally sometimes living in the different universes,
different universes. I pointed out because what's about to happen.
depending on what news outlets or group
That
of
analogy totally works.
Yeah, thank you.
You've met people and say, "What universe did you?"
Did you come from? Yeah, literally.
I've said it way too many times lately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so me initially I was like, grow up, Neil, because we're trying to have a mature discussion here, but at the same time, like that kind of humor is fine, right? It depends on how far you take it, and
Group
That
of
analogy
news.
totally works.
like that's fine, and we continue from there. But
Yeah.
he goes and then he makes it
Thank you.
You've met people and say, "What universe did you?"
Did you come?
like, why is this becoming? You know what I'm saying? Like this should not ever have a chance at ever taking the narrative. It's fine to tink, but the second that tink becomes a hey, let's go over here, that's bad.
Come from? Yeah.
It's called splitting the hairs. Basically, you're doing what they want you to do. You should, you know, tink it just to show like, hey, there's a different avenue, but we're being grown-ups here and staying here where we should. You know what I'm saying?
Literally, did
I've
you?
said it way too many times lately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Are we finding the same thing? So yeah, our job is
So she does good by pulling it back. That's called alpha, by the way.
not to say that this one's right or this one's wrong.
That was incorrect. It is your job to say what is wrong. It is not your job to say what is right. And it was because of that I decided to make this video, because that's why in government we have a thing called Congress, and why we don't have a thing called progress is because you're trying to prove that your idea sucks and that we can't do it because these bad things are the result of it. And as long as the bad things can't happen, no, right? That's the idea. That's why it's called progress, or Congress, rather. um, but yeah, once you make an argument and it gets to the point where it's like, well, no matter what, we win. Everybody wins. No side is unhappy here. That's a good decision. Now that will pass. You know what I'm saying? Congress, who normally tries to get in the way of that shit, no longer has something to say. They made, like, for example, they made me happy, the ultimate critic of all time. Basically, I consider myself an auditor extraordinaire. I'm like the auditor of life. I'm the alpha, king of kings. I'm the chief of context. You know what I'm saying? I just made that up, by the way. That's fucking dope. Chief of context. I like it.
And what we do is we literally reconstitute all of those versions together to reverse engineer what might have happened. So we'll show.
Whoa. Whoa.
It's a new take on it.
That's badass.
Yeah. So what criteria?
But let her finish her thing. She just used the word reverse engineering. Let that sentence finish.
The engineer said reverse
I-
engineering.
Reverse
What a
engineer.
surprise.
Yeah. I hope
The engineer should reverse engineer. What a surprise. Exactly. But he's looking at a surface level, right? He isn't caught off by it like Neil is, because Neil's like, whoa, that's deep, because he's actually connecting. That's why he's fat and out of shape, and the other guy isn't. But that's also why she's fat and out of shape, because they are actually deep and involved, and that's why this douchebag needs to shut the fuck up, because he's only skin deep, and he's trying to be an alpha, and he's like, whoa, the engineer said reverse engineer. It's like, yeah, you're talking about skin level context, you fucking smart ass, but we're talking about like deep shit. She's still saying reverse engineer as in like literal, not in just kind of, it's just a word and she said a word. No, she's literally means we picked it apart and we actually did it. That's what Neil's like, whoa, because it actually is a thing. It was just a word. It was a thing. That's the difference. Like, that's the difference with the Hollywood and why you're all dressed up and why you're all skinny and healthy and looking blah blah. Because you're more about that construction of an image versus the actual context of who you are. Like, Neil has a lot of context to his character. She has a lot of context to her character. You don't. You're a skin deep asshole.
I hope it doesn't become scientist versus the engineer here.
No,
but-
not for this interview. No.
I hope it doesn't become scientist versus the engineer here.
No,
but-
not for this interview. No.
See, and she is taking his side because he's hotter. This is why America sucks and the world sucks. Yeah. Why didn't you tell me I was being too loud? God, I had my headphones on all the way. I didn't realize it. But anyways, yeah, that's why America sucks. So the world sucks. It's because she likes him because of how he looks, basically. She's ignoring Neil despite the fact they look the same. And there's a reason why they look the same. It's because they're on the same page. But she's going for him and trying to appease him. And then he sees that and he takes her and takes advantage of that. And that's how the world fucking sucks. Because he doesn't deserve to be here. Why is he here? I don't understand. And it's just because he's taking advantage of the world, basically.
Otherwise, meet me outside. We'll talk about it. No.
I give up. We put all those sources together. So let's say, there is some executive order that is passed,
And I like her, by the way.
So let's.
No.
I give up.
That was cute. That I was like, oh my god, I freaking love you. But because he isn't an alpha like myself, he's like, ah, ha, 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 and he laughs off. Whereas me, I have a response. I'm like, oh my god, that was adorable. The fact that you went there, I love it. That's it's unappreciated. They both are sitting there looking at her like, uh huh. Whereas me as an alpha, you know what I'm saying? If I was able to be myself in her presence, I'd be like, oh my god, I fucking love you for that. You know, and she's like, oh, thank you. And we have a connection built off of that. That's what America doesn't have. You know what I'm saying? It's all this artificial bullshit. We don't have alphas.
We put all
See, they both.
the sources together. So
But me, I would have kept on. Me and her would end up fucking at the party. You know what I'm
let's
saying?
say, yeah, there is some executive order.
That's literally happened before. I think I was like 21, I want to say. 19, I think I was 21. My friend's mom seen us. We're all at his house. We're drinking. As me, um, one S, another S. There's an M. There's an I. These are all different friends. Their names. But I'm not gonna say them. But there's a few of us at a party. It's like a pre-party or after party. I don't remember which of the two. But we're hanging out and we're getting ready or something. Or just hanging out. And then my friend's mom pulls me to the side and she said, "Hey," I'm like, "What's up, P?" That's her name. Her name, of course, I'm just called P. I'm like, "What's up, P?" And she's like, "You're the alpha, huh?" I'm like, "Huh?" And she's like, "You are the alpha, aren't you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You're the leader." And like, I don't understand. I didn't understand this concept yet, but she kind of introduced me to it, basically. And I thought about it later in my life. Right at the time, I thought I didn't think anything of it because at the time I thought, no, we're just hanging out, we're just friends, right? We're just an innocent kid. But what turned to be innocence by me was actually ignorance. Um, Essentially, in the end, because I should have taken that in, and I should have matured a lot sooner than I did. It was all there. Like there was girls that I regret not being more like sexually involving. Basically, I regret not leading these girls on because I think if I made her believe that I was her number one, she would have been in a better place. Even though I eventually would have broken up with her, she would be in a better place now. Even as bitch number seven, you know what I'm saying? I was giving examples. Like, she would be better off if she thought she followed me because I'm such an alpha, basically. But she was surrounded by all these dogs and shit. She ended up ruining her life is over. It's ruined. You know, every single girl I've ever known, I've ever been with is basically they've been ruined. And that mother that I was talking about, her name was P, and she pointed out, "You're the alpha, you're the leader, huh?" And I didn't notice, I didn't think about it, but yeah, it's true. If the girls and all the women actually did hang out with me and I thought about myself in that way, they would have been better. I would have been better. All this shit maybe wouldn't have happened to me, but because I didn't accept it, that's why I'm so loud now, because like I should have been the whole time. But anyways, I would be the number one streamer right now, and then my friend D would also be the top streamer too. We have the most best content in the world, you know.
That is passed, and there's a news story saying, "Hey, this is the headline, and this is what happened." We will show you along the spectrum of how the different news sources cover it, all the way from the far left to the far right. And then we don't put any check marks or X's against any of them. We very much let you decide where the truth kind of gets reconstituted, and you use your critical thinking to put that together.
You use your critical thinking.
Yes.
Problem, they don't have any. You need to put it there. Again, it's okay for you to say no. It's not okay for you to say yes. You know what I'm saying? That you should never be bringing people into cults, but it's okay to pull them out of cults. So
What does that presume?
Yes.
Where's the big assumption there?
Or
You're
you,
absolutely
Or
right.
you
It's a-
should use your critical thinking.
which
Yeah.
is
If you have it
a
to
skill we
use.
are all losing. Which is a
It's
skill that
interesting
we,
you say that.
yeah.
How it's more herd mentality then?
It's herd mentality, but also I think we're becoming lazy a bit because I feel like we like to
Intellectually
be
lazy.
intellectually lazy
Yeah.
because it's
you see how they're like on the same page all the time.
great to hear somebody else talk about what they think about it or what their opinion is about something and then regurgitate it rather than using your own brain to be able to say it because it takes effort to be able to do that.
Right, and most people don't put that effort in. It's not that they can't, it's that they don't. I'm not saying people are dumb because they can't be smart, which you can take it however the fuck you want. I don't care. If you want to take it that way, good for you. If you want to hate me, good for you. If you want to fucking swim to the ocean and fucking get eaten by sharks, have fun. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's just what it is. You can like it or hate it. You know what I'm saying? You can, again, swim with people that are going to tickle your butthole, they're going to lie to you and rape you and manipulate you, like all the girls I knew before. So
But I'll just pick one guy, one girl, one Substack, one podcast, one newsletter, one news channel, whatever it is, and then just follow the one.
that's natural. That's why fake alternatives exist. Instagram as much as they possibly can, but they all operate under this flag.
That I agree with, and
And again, that's why they shut me down and why they shut Bernie Sanders down is because we stand for individualism, basically. Whereas they stand as trust us as Fox News or the Washington Journal or the left and the right, you know what I'm saying? Whereas me and Bernie Sanders, like, be who you want. That just do what you want. Do what you want. I don't care how you do it. Just do it. That's all. And the problem is, the way people are doing it is they turn off and let others do it for them because they don't realize they're being tricked. So
reinforces my cognitive bias.
So the
Yes.
psychology of the news and how it's absorbed, how it's portrayed, is now much, much deeper than you and I growing up. Oh, there's a nice guy in a suit and a tie, and he's reading the stories
Yes.
from the day at 6 p.m. And then
right.
we moved on.
There are a couple of reasons.
See, that's one view. You can say that, but there's a reason why nobody connected, nobody ate up, and nobody fucking added to it because that's one perspective, and that's your perspective. But on the other flip side, you also didn't have the TV that's like, hey, Fox News, Christianity, best choices, number one, we're the best, like in China, America, number one, this product, number one, buy this product, this best. You know, this is why, like Russia and China, they do these things, and that's because it works. And once upon a time, America was against that, and nowadays they're fine with it. We're seeing what the result of it. So
Why that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
So one is there was a doctrine called fairness doctrine, if you've heard of that, that came into existence, I think, late 1940s, which
That early?
That early,
Yeah.
because
That's before
they-
TV.
That's
So
it,
that's
because they
radio.
wanted FCC wanted
Yeah.
radio and then TV to take responsibility to provide a more equitable and honest version of what's really going on. So there was a fairness doctrine where the onus was on the broadcasters to actually show all versions of
And they
what
had that
happened.
control of them because the federal government allocated the electromagnetic spectrum to them, right?
That's right. That's how
it
they
was a
controlled
public-
it. The
it's a public
licenses.
trust.
That's right.
Right.
And then it got repealed during the Reagan administration. So that's where the fragmentation really happened, because then there wasn't any legal obligation to be able to say that I have to show all this various version and show that's why the guy in Thai that told the Walter Cronkite version of the news that used to exist didn't exist. And then of course everything spun out of control when news hit the internet and then later hit social media, and then it just went crazy. And
Because I remember, I mean, this is how old I am. I remember when the news would give an opinion. It was like, are you seated? Okay,
Yes, this
we're
is-
about to give an opinion.
Yes.
Get ready for this opinion.
Yeah.
We're going to come back and we're going to sit here, and this is going to be an opinion.
Yes.
Like flashing
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
And then it was over, and then
And it wasn't told, it wasn't snuck in to be said, this is news, this is an opinion. Yeah,
Right.
as you said, very much categorized.
So let me ask you,
Of course.
Right. But that got taken away. And, yeah.
what criteria
I was in Borneo.
are you using at Ground News to determine an outlet's bias, be it left,
Yeah.
centre, or right?
That's right. So
can a center be biased?
that's what,
Ooh, that's
what-
a philosophical
that's-
question.
Can a center be biased? Yes.
That's a
I
philosophical
told you, we're
question
in there
indeed.
deep.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So one decision we made early on,
It's deep on the skin level. But the second you dive into it, you realize, oh no, again.
I
philosophical
told you, we're
question
in there
indeed.
deep.
Center be biased.
Do they have a motive? Can they have a motive? An agenda? A reason?
That's what,
Ooh,
that's
that's
what-
a philosophical
that's a
question.
I
philosophical
told you, we're in
question
there
indeed.
deep.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So one decision we made early on, again, to be as neutral as possible and in a way as scientific as possible, we do not determine the rating, that if the CNN is left or Fox is right. We're using third-party rating agencies, and actually we are using 3 of them who use 3 different methodologies. One of them is using crowdsourcing, one of them is using experts, one of them is using algorithms, and then we take a statistical average of them and then say, okay, based on these rating agencies, that's where the news outlet lies.
And do you look for keywords that would
They do.
indicate?
That's right. That's right. How does the story get framed? What topics do they cover more often than less often?
And how much time they give to that topic?
To that topic, which is very, very interesting as well. That it's not one thing that we stumbled upon. To be honest, I did not set out to do. Was it's not necessarily the spin on the coverage; it's the lack of coverage completely. That tells the bias of the
That's a
outlet
whole
as
other
well.
thing.
Yeah.
Very recently, when markets were crashing, there were certain outlets, if you went to it, then you wouldn't know that there was anything terrible happening in the
Nothing to
financial
see
market.
here.
Keep walking.
The nothing to see
Nothing
here
here.
approach to news. Now, you said the spin.
Yes.
Do we still call them spin doctors, or is that such an archaic term
Well,
now?
that for the politicians, yes, but
Yeah.
I think the news outlets are very much very
No,
much
spin
doing
doctor
that.
was one person among many who was doing the spin.
Yeah.
But now the many are spinning.
Yeah.
So
And
it's a
that's just
spin
it.
hospital
Everybody's at
of
it.
doctors.
Several doctors.
Convention. Okay,
yeah.
so when
Convention, indeed.
I suppose an article goes beyond simple bias and
Yeah.
it's actually misinformed, misleading.
Yes.
I mean, not misinformation, but disinformation.
Yes.
How do you sort of scan that?
And,
Yeah.
and what's behind that, I think, is you began this conversation saying there's an event,
Yes.
and then you watch how people cover the.
So that third guy, he's the host, it seems like. And he's like that's the scientist, like the chick is a science and he's science too, but he's science human and she's more science machine. The way that they think, basically. Like as people, they can be whatever the fuck they want to be, but I'm saying as in group sessions, and then he is kind of the organizer of both.
event
Yes.
or don't. However, that presumes that everyone has equal access to the objective, true information about the event.
Yep.
But in the days of reporters, different reporters would be delivering information back to the newsroom from their view.
Yeah.
So there's another layer in there, isn't there? It's not just the person presenting the news or writing the article.
Yes.
It's the person who's supplying
the information. As
the
well.
information.
Yes. Yes. So again, it's very hard to say that there's anything is objective because this is a chain of humans.
So again, I want to point something out.
Isn't there? It's not just the person presenting the news or writing the article.
Yes.
It's the person who's supplying
the information. As
the
well.
information.
So did you notice? It's the person who's supplying, and she says yes, supplying the information, and he carries on the information, and he looks at him, and he looks at him. They basically overlap to her, And what they should have done is stopped talking and let her see where she goes with what she said. Everyone gets one, and in that kind of debate moment, it's no longer about like a meeting, but so that everyone gets one is not part of it because everyone gets one, but we're in a debate. So clearly, you pass or you're passing, and that can be the reason why you fail, but you can't hold them to one chord in a debate. Basically, in a debate, they may say things that will piss you off. You can't hold that against them unless it's a core fundamental thing like I will rape you after we're done. In which case, you're like, okay, we're done here. I'm please walk with me to my car, make sure. You know what I'm saying? That's a clear turnoff. But when it comes to like, I don't like pineapples on pizza, don't hold that against them. But when you're going to meet for the first time and you're like, hey, I want to have pineapple on my pizza, and you like pineapple on your pizza, you can, hold that to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it means different things in different environments, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, yes. So again, it's very hard to say that there's any.
So I just want to notice again,
Information.
Yeah.
they took that moment, did nothing with it, and then
Yes. Yeah.
she chimes in because they're two betas, and that's why they're fat and obese and they suck, and why they're masturbating all the time because they suck and they're losers. And she's the alpha, and she's like, yes, that is true, and she's trying to move on, but she doesn't have me as an alpha. Like, I guarantee, if I was in that position, I'd be skinny, healthy first off, and skinny, and she'd be healthy and skinny too, because we'd have sex, but like maybe twice a week, basically. And it isn't something that we just, that's all we did every day, all the time. We never just were just, it wasn't us. We were about math, and every now and then we'd fuck, and we go back to math. And the math stories, blah, blah, and our minds would be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but every now and then we'd have sex. But ever since Hollywood became the main thing, it's more about the sex than is the topic. And that's what context is lost. And why you say nigger and the whole fucking world's like, ah! When in reality, it's just a fucking word. It's who cares? It's just a word. You know what I'm saying? But that's what's going on.
Yes. So again, it's very hard to say that there's anything is objective because this is a chain of humans, as you described it. Somebody is reporting it, somebody is writing about it, and then somebody is watching it and making sense out of it.
Did you have the game of telephone in the UK? Did you play that?
That's exactly what.
No. Or maybe I did and I don't remember.
No, you would so know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we invented the telephone, so maybe you didn't do it, but
we wouldn't play it just out of spite.
no, in elementary school, you do it in elementary school, like
Right.
kindergarten or something.
No.
And someone starts with a story that has a little bit of detail, but not
Oh, okay, no, I
not
didn't
on a
play
level
this.
that you can't remember it, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like so Mary wore a blue dress to Johnny's birthday party,
Right.
and he turned 6, and he blew out the candles and made a wish. He goes,
And again, because Neil is a storyteller, he's making it way more complicated than it needs to be. That's why he's fat, and he's fat because he's so fucking involved and infatuated with the science or whatever. But in truth, all I was saying is, I'm telling you, the roses are red. And then he's like, oh, roses are dead. And then she said that Moses is fed. And that's the same thing. But listen to him going on for 20 years.
go to Disneyland. Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing weird about
Simplistic,
that.
yep.
And I tell it to you, you tell it to the next person, you whisper it. And
Oh.
then at the end, it's like, hey, Joey wanted to go into space
Yeah.
and have a birthday party. The whole
Yeah.
It's one of the first things we learn in elementary school. How unreliable
Yeah.
the human
when you pass that
means of
information.
communicating information is.
That's right. But if you had the versions of all of those people along the chain and put it together, perhaps you can decipher where exactly.
Maybe.
But everyone's version is accurate in their own mind
There
it
and
is.
is passed on. But the helicopter view is something very different.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
let me ask.
Yeah.
And again, he took it in a way that makes sense to him. Got it. Cool. And he walks off with it. That is what alpha is. Whereas nowadays, it's like A, B, C, and all the way to whatever. And they have to say the exact same thing. And if you aren't carbon copy cut, banned, A, B, C, banned. And that's basically how the world works, essentially. And so, as a result, A, B, C, and they fake it, basically. And like, okay, you're in, but in reality, he's just faking it. That's why America sucks.
Answer your question, Gary. How do you determine if there is disinformation included? So let me take an extreme example. I don't know. There was a claim a few years ago, totally false claim that medicine called ivermectin cured COVID. And let's assume a news outlet publishes that claim. So what Ground News does is, again, we will not just show that claim published by that outlet. We'll also show all the other outlets commenting on it, saying, "Hey, how there are claims out there."
So they're
the
basically reaction
to
videos.
the
right?
reaction
Yeah, that's the
videos,
thing.
and also correcting it. Scientists go out and correcting it and publishing.
Notice what happened right there.
How they're
Again, Neil not being a good ball hog, or not being a good ball passer.
there are claims out there.
He's a ball hog.
So they're
that-
They're
the
basically reaction
to
videos.
the
And that's where it should end. But he keeps on.
Right.
reaction
Yeah, that's the
videos,
thing.
and also correcting it. Scientists go out and correcting it and
Oh, yeah.
publishing
Looks at the camera, which you shouldn't do.
publishing reports that, hey, this is
I think he shuts his eyes and, you know what I'm saying? Because he tried to take the ball, but she took it back. And he's like, you know what I'm saying? But he's used to being able to, and it's uncontested and blah, blah, blah. But here he has to pass the ball.
this is a claim that's not true. The second thing we do is
And again, in America, there are people with the money that pay people like Tyler, who is a ball hog, to pop off and be number one. And then there's some other ball hog, and some other ball hog, and some other ball hog, and these companies dump money into those. So everyone's learning how to be a ball hog, but then there's people like me that will pop up and be like, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball. But the systems are like, hey, this guy named Ninja on a Ninja, here's $1 million. Make sure he's not popping up anywhere. And that's what's going on. And that's why Bernie Sanders can fill a fucking stadium, but not a chat room.
from biased ratings, we also provide factuality ratings of the news outlets. So how have they historically been reporting, and so on their reporting practices, we'll say, hey, this is historically.
Is it from one source, or again is that cross
Again, it's
reference?
from a cluster of sources. Again, trying
Okay.
to be as neutral and as close to objectivity as we possibly can be, that we do. So again,
Shut it down with science. Make it fair. Make it reasonable. Make sure they understand it's not bad because I said so, but it's bad because 2 plus 2 does not equal 5. And show them that. There's 2. Break them down. I gotta stop. I gotta stop eating. But anyways, 2, break it down, 1, 1, 2, break it down, 1, 1, add them up, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 doesn't equal 5. Boom. You know what I'm saying? That's what you gotta do. Do it. Until people learn to start thinking, that's what you gotta do.
again, when you're reading that news, not in isolation, but again clustered with the other reactions, other disproving of that claim, then you have all the information at least in one place to be able to say this is true or not. But that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, word salad question. Filter bubbles, echo chambers, and cognitive biases.
Yes.
They're not phrases that you would have heard 10 years ago,
Yes.
probably.
Yes.
But now,
Well, cognitive bias is well known
yes, but I'm saying
in psychological
all
literature.
in this, in terms of a news.
But news, not
Yes.
yet, definitely.
This is Neil being Neil. Oh, sorry, that's the point, you fucking dumbass.
Well known
Yes, but I'm saying
in psychological
all
literature.
in this, in terms of a news.
But news, not
Yes.
yet, definitely not
Yeah.
news.
So
Oh, news. Yeah. That's how you don't interrupt, you fat fuck.
this is now the landscape
That is
of
right.
news media. You've got to go through filter bubbles or
Yeah.
look through someone's bubble, understand if that is something, and then find yourself in an echo chamber.
That's right. So interestingly enough, I'll start at a very different place. I think the reason all this has happened, again, going back to what's happened with news, is one of the main reasons is the revenue models of the news outlets. So the revenue models of news outlets have gone to, similar to social media advertising, and how much time can we retain you on the channel or on the app or on the website.
Commodity is your attention.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what they are. But then, how
It's
do you?
called sellouts, and they're paying to influence the algorithm to keep you locked in, and they want to make sure that we tie those with people like T1 to make sure you learn bullshit instead of logic and reason. Whereas back in the day, they told you this is how to be a good person. Whereas today, they're like, this is how you take your financial money that you got from your parents and transfer it to my wallet. Basically, that's what's going on.
You do that by not showing you stuff you might disagree with, and leave the site or leave the app. So keep showing you, again, reinforcing that cognitive bias, creating that bubble. So, and then you're like, yeah, this news outlet gets me, or this guy and girl gets me. I want to keep.
In the old days, and I just know this from what I was told, I didn't research this, the news was not expected, TV news was not expected to be a revenue generating center.
Yes.
It was funded by all of the other programming that went on in the day, and the news was a service to. Of course, it had ads, yes,
Yeah.
but there wasn't a
Right, and this is one of those things that people thought people knew, but people didn't know. Like this, maybe this may be the first time you're hearing about it. But basically, what Neil's saying is correct. And there wasn't money involved, and now there's money involved. That's basically it. And like Neil, he has to take 50 years to explain an idea that can be explained in 50, like, the words, like 15 words, basically. Sorry, I'm looking for something while talking, but basically, again, the point that I'm trying to illustrate here is that science wasn't always the groundbreaking network that was as far as money went, as he's talking about, right? It wasn't always the case, but that change happened, and that's the end of that. That's where that's it. That's the drama in a nutshell. That's the money went, and no one paid attention to it, and they infected it, and influenced it, and of course you have bias. You have Trojan horses, and Trump is in power, and blah blah blah. Hopefully it's not too late.
calculation done that they have to adjust the news to boost ad revenue.
Yeah, but now each news channel is its own profit center. So then, how do you make sure that remains profitable? As you're saying, that if that is the revenue generating source, then
No, that's unfortunately that was before a byproduct, but it became the mainstay basically. Once upon a time, you can make money off it, but eventually became you make your money off of it. And because of that, a lot of bad people were like, well, that's a pretty good way to make money, so I'm going to do that. And do that for a while, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's a pretty good way to control and you have power and blah blah blah, and that's again why we have America right now.
Then you keep showing people what they want to see and not let them. You say that, hey, I
Whoa! If you tickle their buttholes, they like what you're saying too. Whoa!
cannot own the entire population. I'm going to own this slice of population that believes in these things, and I'm going to keep reinforcing those beliefs, these few things.
I like that phrase,
and
to own them.
own them.
You basically
That
do.
is-
But
that's
they-
it.
I mean,
They're
it's a
the-
ba-
They
you
do
the-
what you say. They think what you think.
Yeah, and
That's-
they think what you tell them to
You tell
think.
them, yeah, and then
Yes.
they own you.
And
yeah.
then you're
And then-
working very
That's what a religious zealot is. And you remember the ah, la 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 la, those guys in the that follow? That's what they were. Welcome to Circle of Life.
very much with the demographics.
That's right. So
Yeah.
so that's
It
where I
could
think,
lose a
again, going back to the different universes
soul
come in, that if you're reading that
to
channel,
faith and hope.
or listening to that channel, or reading that newspaper, or even group of newspapers that are similar to that ideology, then you would think of things happening very differently. What another person at an opposite end of the spectrum might be thinking.
Hey, Star Talk fans, I don't know if you know this, but the audio version of the podcast of
Strategies can people and
Star Talk.
now that we understand a little bit better what's out there and how it's sort of
Yeah.
brought forward, what strategies can people develop
Yeah.
to be able to see through, to be able to be aware of what bias might be spun
Be educated.
at?
Or
It's
intelligent,
self-awareness.
rather.
It's,
Yeah, but
well,
what bias might be spun at?
it's self-awareness. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
but-
all it comes down to, right?
it is, but it's a very tough ask
Yeah.
for somebody to do.
Yeah.
No,
I think to
it's
challenge
not.
that, a few tools that
I
are
hate
tough
that.
ask
Look at
Yeah.
for somebody to do.
she's talking to a smile like I'm lying through my teeth. Basically, I'm trying to. It's legend. No, like stop.
Yeah.
I think to challenge that, a few tools that we are using, and as a layperson, even if you don't want to use ground news, I hope you do, but if you don't,
That's why. See what I'm saying? She works for Ground News, so for Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said it's to be self-aware, and she's like, no, because that means you won't use my app. Oh, all right.
yeah.
for somebody to do.
Yeah.
I think to
Too right.
it,
Be spun at?
It's self-awareness. It's,
Yeah, but
that's what it comes down to, right?
it is, but it's a very tough ask
Yeah.
for somebody to do.
Right, and so she's saying you should trust our app instead.
I think to challenge that, a few tools that we are
She might actually not be fat.
using, and as a layperson, even if you don't want to use ground news, I hope you do, but if you don't, you can
I hope you do, but
use it yourself. One is very much what we call lateral reading. Again, take the news sources and read it across. Even if you don't agree with them, you don't have to, but just having that access and challenging yourself, as you said, having the self-awareness that there are other versions of what's happening. Second, as I said, by going across the news sources, or if you are, let's say, on social media, you are the person who gets news on social media, go follow accounts that you might not agree with, and they might make you angry, but at least going out and seeing what we are calling blind spots. So we have a feature called blind spots. What we mean is that if you were reading a certain set of news sources, you would have never come across.
basically what they're doing is they're setting you up, right? And once they have enough of followers, then all of a sudden, hey, we owned 97% of America. How much money do you want? Cool. Here's the money. All those followers are now part of the program.
across these news stories, and every single day. And it's
That's all
not
you're
just
doing.
one side or the other.
And
Both
why? Because she wants money.
sides of the spectrum are very much, they do that, they just leave certain news stories out. So how are you going to
Well, she's the fall guy of the company. She's a partner of the people behind closed doors.
find them?
And by the way, just as a professional educator,
And that's what they all are, by the way.
can I call myself that?
You just did. And yes, it's true. You are.
Okay.
You are.
I'm born and raised in New York City, so I lean left politically. But when someone starts railing on the political right, and I say, well, where did you get that information? And they talk about the New York Times or
Yes.
MSNBC, whatever.
Yes.
Then I tell them, I probably watch much more Fox News than you do.
So
And I
you're
do it-
doing that already.
Yes,
yeah.
I do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And what that helps me is I know there are demographics that watch Fox
Yes.
News exclusively.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've been on Fox News, okay,
Yes,
with a
yeah.
couple of their shows.
And they probably won't have you back on because you're not a tool for them to make more money or to get more power. And again, people infiltrated Fox News just like they did Tim Pool to say Russia's the enemy, Ukraine is the enemy, Ukraine must go, blah blah blah. Basically, the point is, you're a sellout tool, and because we can't use you anymore because you know better, we need to make sure you get Bernie blacked out and shut you up, and it's just propaganda. That's all it comes down to.
So when I'm out in the wild, okay,
In the wild.
we let you loose.
yeah, when I'm set forth into the nation, I have some sense of what forces are operating on people's thoughts, and it makes me a way more potent educator, I think.
That I'm so glad you say, Neil, that you do that, because you can exactly have that empathy to understand where people are
Yeah,
coming
it's
from.
not to pass judgment;
Yeah.
it's to just understand.
Yeah.
Right. But people want to label me, oh, you're an asshole. How dare you, like, hold the opposition to what I feel that makes you evil? No, that's what they say.
We get such heartening feedback all the time where, hey, I stopped talking to my father, or stopped talking to my uncle, or husband and wife stopped talking
Stop
because
projecting.
our political views didn't agree, and it's fracturing people. And one common thing that do is, okay, let's agree not to talk politics, but that cannot be the solution. Like, we cannot solve other problems if we don't address and bring people back to common ground. So that's, I think, the only way you can do that is presenting all of the different opinions, and you don't have to agree with it, but when you run into that person who have this opinion, you can have at least a educated conversation about it.
That's a strategy for an individual
Yes.
that wants to get a better understanding of the news landscape.
So, I gotta real quick say, there's nothing wrong with being informed or informing or taking up arms and doing what they're doing, but understand they are doing it for money, basically, and they need you to be a user for them to make that money. First time's free, baby. Yeah, right. It's like addiction. It's like heroin's like a drug, right? But again, the best tool is just be self-educated. Go out there, get involved, learn the whole thing. Don't be just like part of this fucking the blue circle, right? Like Destiny, for example, is a popular streamer, but he's part of the blue circle, right? Like everything he is, everything he says, or claims, or feels, or thinks, or whatever, he does what he does because he's that blue circle, right? And that's kind of my point. And really the problem, because people are going to be like, well, I come from the red circle, and that's where the drama and gangsters come from. Well, you're blue, you're red, and they've been trying to do this for a long fucking time. And it's been a thing in America for a long fucking time. Like gangsters and whatnot, there's not much of gangs at all anymore. And they may have been a thing, but they ain't talking about it now. And honestly, like I would say right now would be a really good time to really, if you really want to fuck up America, gangs would be a good choice. Because people are fucking stupid. And back then they weren't stupid, but it still fucked them up. Could you imagine today? But that's what it is basically. It's just that mentality. It's just like, oh, you're red, oh, I'm blue, blah, 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 drama. And then again, it's just divide and conquer. Splitting hairs, creating bullshit where there is none. That's basically the whole game plan, right? That's basically what it comes down to. Anyways, continue.
Doesn't that assume they want to get a better understanding?
I think
It's-
so.
Yeah, suppose they don't want to. They're
It's
happy
interesting you say that.
being fed the way they are.
So I think nobody wants to be gamed. I think that's for sure.
Oh,
Nobody
You
wants
just
to.
say you're being gamed. Oh, that Those are fighting words. I love that.
I,
So,
uh,
do we-
you have
That's what I'm saying. Congress, say what's wrong, but don't tell them what's right.
been gamed.
Yeah, and
Ooh.
that's that is
everybody
going
thinks they have self-awareness, right? Everybody
Yeah.
thinks they have
Oh my
self-awareness,
gosh.
and it's just that it's very challenging when we are presenting the worldview that we don't agree with, and how are you going to go find it if you?
If I don't agree with it, not really. Me personally, I don't care. I'm still gonna do what I want to do. I don't care what the world thinks or how the world feels. Or, well, I don't think you should play Briar in League of Legends. Okay, well, I want to play Briar in League of Legends. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter, right? Now, what matters, for example, is if they wanted to take guns away from people, they can take guns from cold dead hands. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that's a human right, bitch. It's a fundamental, um, what's it called, whatever it's called. Can't think of the word right now. It's a right, basically, right? So that's why I feel the way I do about it, because it's a right. So leave it the fuck alone. But people, oh, well, that's a reason for division. It's a reason for opposition. It's a reason for drama. Shut up. But anyways, continue.
You keep cocooning yourself with information
and
that
if
you
it's
agree
not
with.
in agreement with you, then it's wrong.
Yes,
Right.
that's
Now that
Not just different.
yeah,
Right.
let's spin that
You're
round.
not red. You're blue. We still have drama.
Rather than put the burden on the responsibility on the individual, could the corporations, and there are major corporations in play here, could they be more responsible for their messaging?
we can. I think again, things like fairness doctrine was one of the ways that we could ask, but I don't think that's going to happen again. One specific thing is, of course, social media. I think social media is, as you know, it's the most intense form of those reinforced algorithms
It's an
that
outrage
exist.
engine.
It's an outrage engine.
It's basically that dude that was on the street corner, right? Oh, believe the darkness is coming. Oh, the guy's in the corner. You played Skyrim with that guy. It's like, oh my god, fucking Eldros the dragon, or whatever, and blah blah blah. Like, those fucking screamer doomsayers is what they call them, whatever. But now he's on a loudspeaker and he speaks the whole nation at once. That's what that is. Some regulation is fine, but again, don't tell them what to say. Tell them, or don't tell them what is right and wrong, but say this is right, this is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell them like, oh, you should believe in God. No, that's bad. It's just, did you know that believing in God? Well, that's fine. You can say, did you know? You can jack off and just ask questions all you want, but again, the second you imply something, you have to be careful because that sets you up for the retaliation.
They know
Yes.
that more outraged you are, more time you'll spend on it, and
Oh, sorry, I didn't even realize this is on. This is on my head, and for some reason, I think I'm not thinking. Well, I keep being too loud because they're not talking to me. I didn't realize I was being loud. I was like cutting my fingernails, not even thinking about it. I'm just talking, but yeah.
and more likely you are to click.
But that's an example, though. It's the opposite of what you said a moment ago. There's one thing to show me what I want to see
Yeah.
because I agree with it. But if you show me something that I vehemently disagree with,
Yes.
that gets me bubbling, and then I forward that. Look what they said
Yeah,
over here.
without checking what
Right.
exactly.
So it
Yeah.
seems to work on both extremes of that
It does,
spectrum.
but I think again,
That's why the gods and the Bible and the blah blah blah, why they sit her in the other chick. oh, they have this. Oh, well, they have that. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Okay, turn the other cheek. I mean, like, you can't turn the other cheek when they're raping your kids, of course. That's kind of a no-no, right? But the grass is always greener on the other side. That's just a part of life. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It's just a part of life. But it's not, anyways, it's not a factor of life, yeah.
It's not that it's showing you, yeah, the emotion works on both extremes.
Emotion.
But again, you might forward it, but it's such an exaggerated version of whatever it is on the other side as well that you are shown. It's not exactly that you're becoming enlightened by seeing that news story.
Right.
You're getting enraged by seeing that news story,
Right.
but not necessarily. But yeah, because it's again, whatever the hot button topic is, take the most emotional, exaggerated version of that and show
What-
it to you.
What is your revenue model?
Yeah, so
Ooh,
one.
that's a good question.
That's a
Ooh.
good question.
Whoa.
Whoa.
We're talking about other things than the
went
sponsors.
right in there, didn't you?
Oh!
Right?
Yeah, how do you like that? No softball questions here.
Try to answer that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is straightforward. So one thing early on we decided is we are not going to do the ad revenue model, because then you are just recreating the problem that you're trying to solve. So we decided to go with a subscription model. If you find our tools, navigation tools to read news helpful, if you find our analysis helpful, then you can pay us a subscription to be able to use the product, and it's 100% subscription
That's the cleanest
supported.
way to do that.
If you find value in the product, pay it to us. But we have a freemium model. We realize not everybody
And
can
if they
afford.
don't find any value in it, then you pay them. Is it?
Sorry, wasted your time.
You wasted my time is $100 an hour. And right.
Outside of the revenue models,
Yeah.
Is it my imagination?
Yeah.
Well, it might be, but has science become a trigger, especially on social media?
That's an interesting
What do
question.
you mean by that?
Yeah.
Okay, throw a view at somebody that aggravates the hell out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And science seems to be one of those trigger points.
My answer to that would be because I think people like making compelling arguments on social medias, and that's why throwing a scientific, I don't know, an excerpt of scientific report or scientific news, which is either taken out of context, which as a scientist you would never do, you would explain the nuance, and to make
So good point. So you throw in a little bit of science.
exactly.
You get to boost what your audience might think is the authenticity of the
Well,
account.
it goes back to that old adage of every good lie,
Yes, has a
grain of truth.
Exactly.
Now, it depends on the size of that grain.
I never heard that.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Never.
So you haven't heard of telephone, and you haven't
No.
heard of
No. I've heard.
Every day's a school day.
No, not every lie. I've heard every stereotype has a grain of truth. I've heard that.
Oh, well, then it's copy and paste. Every good lie has a grain of truth in it.
Okay.
It's one of those sort of, it's part of the
Exactly. Taken
storytelling.
out.
So that lesson is brought to you by media today. Just copy paste. That's by most pro gamers today. Just copy paste. No fills, no motion, no nothing. It's just beating bots. That's all it is.
So
Out
it
of
goes back to
context.
telephone. It's the
Yeah.
storytelling.
That
So-
we never went to the moon has no truth in it at all. That's why that Earth is flat
Yeah,
has
we-
no
we-
truth in it.
As,
Okay.
as a former NASA engineer, I think we can very much agree on that one. There is objective.
Science is
if-
weaponized. I
Yes,
think is the
that's
way
right.
to say
Because
it.
it adds heft to an argument. But if you use a snippet out of context, so what we started at least doing at Ground News is if there is a news story being reported about a study that every single day there's some study coming out, and then the headline only covers a partial. We actually started connecting that report. So if you want to go read the report in the entirety and even summarize it for you and say, hey, this is the entirety of it.
How's AI summaries lately?
That's
They've gotten much better.
They have
don't
gotten
they?
much better, but out of the box, LLMs have a lot of hallucination, which is for a use case like news is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do.
Right.
So we've worked a lot on putting guardrails in place that it sticks to exactly what's been
AI is
most
taking ayahuasca.
I know.
I think we will one day learn
Hallucinated.
that.
So I mean, is this where the
Open the,
sitting there with
open the hatch, and there it is, doing ayahuasca.
doing it with a
Yeah.
shaman?
but I think AI can be very powerful for news. So I would like to think, just as internet gave us access to so much information, of course, which had a lot of positive but some negative, AI can help us understand, improve our comprehension of news. Again, at Ground News, we show you, for example, hundreds of different versions of the article. No,
People that
we have people.
people that rely on AI for anything, news, like news stuff. If you rely on AI, you are part of the problem.
Who read through all of that, but if you don't have time summarizing it and giving it to you in a format that where we can highlight the differences or highlight where the news outlets agree, make your life much easier. Again, we don't say, hey, this is right or wrong, but this is the
You should say what is wrong.
summarization of what's happened, or this is the
So
summarization.
you don't
of
bring the
report.
judgment to the.
We don't bring the judgment because I think as soon as you bring the judgment, you alienate somebody, and we don't
So
want to do that.
we mentioned AI.
Right. They want as much money as they can. Your freedoms and your rights. I comes second to how much money we get. We need to include as much money as we can, and that means we must not tell people that they're stupid sacks of shit like I do on the daily.
Is it likely we're going to get responsible, I'll say, journalism formed by artificial intelligence, or are we going to end up with constant stream of deep fakes and something I've come to understand or just learned recently, synthetic headlines?
Yes.
I'm used to the bias of the news outlet being in the headline, and therefore there's no need to read the article because they want you just to read the headline and then
that's
take
all
that.
most people read, by the way.
Exactly.
It's just like,
yeah. I mean,
I read that.
we all think we're
Yeah.
time poor,
Yeah.
and therefore I've only got the time to read the headline. But does AI have the capacity to really stop? And if it does, will it ever be utilized that way?
I think like any groundbreaking technology, AI has the possibility to do both, which is help the news and hurt the news, which is doing as well. Help the news by doing things like identifying deep fakes, by giving tools to journalists to be able to produce quality content or take out the bias, even highlight the bias.
You're
There,
asking AI to turn itself in.
And so-
Finding deep fakes. AI made the damn fake.
Okay, so
And then one day AI is going to say,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do what the humans tell me.
So
I'm
the
going to
thing is,
protect. These are our people.
Yeah.
Our deep fakes are our people.
you're looking at the AI, but I'd look further back in the history and say it's the design of the algorithm.
Yeah.
If you want to design it to do those things, then you will. If you don't, then it goes in a different
Where
direction.
are we with the biases on algorithms that people thought were not biased?
Yeah, that's
Like facial
also,
recognition software.
that is
That was
correct.
the most
Not made
famous
for
example.
yeah. So I think they have been now. There are
What do you think
companies
the dude that made the atom bomb fell to? Fucking idiot. Like, come on now.
actively working on ways to correct that, and again create data sets to be able to reset that to remove bias, and same for news as well. So there are data sets that exist, and for example, we work very, very hard to identify when there is biased language and to be able to say, hey, this, and simply sometimes just highlighting it and say, hey, this is
Sounds as if
on the left kept using the word so,
she said her whole job is pointless.
or drowned out by all the else that
Land this plane. So let me ask you, what are the metrics that you might use to know if you're succeeding?
Very good question. Very good question.
Not really.
I think the number one metric for me is how many news sources people end up reading. When they come to Ground News, we see that in our KPIs that people would go to 2 or 3 sources that quote unquote trust or came in with. But within 3 months, we see that 3x. People are going to 10 different news sources because the ease of it and expanding that.
Do you have to pay a fee to those news sources to channel them into your?
No,
Or-
we don't, because if you want to read their articles, you're still going to the publisher's website.
Got it.
So
Right. They're not reading
so
it
we
on
are
your
not-
website.
No, you cannot.
Okay.
That's where we draw the line and say,
Okay.
if you want to read that, go to New York Times or go to whoever.
Got it.
But yeah, we see that. We actually had a researcher from Duke University who did research on Ground News and found out that people's opinions can actually be changed if they are presented with with counter
Damn.
to what their beliefs are. So
Wow. Fuck. I was just getting stupid. There you go. That was weird. Anyway, um, so sorry. How science can fix the media landscape. And basically, all it was really, it was just a desperate attempt to try to push ground news or whatever. But the truth is, it's just to be informed. And all that site is a way to get informed. But again, that's why she was like, yes, that's true. Like, I made Trump. He made a statement that was like self awareness. She's like, that is true. You shouldn't do that because it's really hard. And she was literally lying through her teeth. My point is, that is the answer. Self awareness. Just being aware. Like if someone tells you, oh my god, an elephant fucking flew in your room, you're not gonna believe it. I'm probably gonna be like, you're right, I'm not gonna believe it. Right? Unless there's like some reason for me to believe it. For example, I see an elephant in my room. Just checking, right? The point is, like that. It's as simple as that. It's just like I'm just checking. Oh, there's nothing. That's it. Just be more aware, especially of things you're talking about. But this is why I point out false alphas and whatnot. People that pretend are like Russell Peters and his little bit about what was it? Do you know where the escalators are? And the guy's like, of course, but he actually has no idea, basically. So that whole situation happens, that exchange happens, and the world basically is falling apart because of false alphas like that. Whereas they say that they know, but they have no fucking idea, and that's again our education system. Every system you can think of, that's what it is, basically. So, yeah, just educate yourself, be informed, be aware. Know that people want to spin the ball to get you to believe things, to get you to act out a certain way and be a certain way. Even the guy like Pirate Software, even Destiny, like there's fucking dumbasses out there, you know. And dumbasses will exist, and they will think this, or they'll think that the best thing you can do is find out what happened from the source. You know what I'm saying? That is the best thing you can do. Not to find a reporter, but to find a source. Like, hear about what happened. If you can. If you can only hear about it through a source, ground news is like if you need to, like, for example, if you're talking about like sex, like you probably want to know about it and hear from people about it and what they think and how they feel and blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like educate yourself, be informed, and I'd say that was a good way. But at the same time, like I said, that's just setting you up for the same kind of bullshit. Because somebody will eventually come up and okay, we'll buy, rights to this, and we'll pay you to say this, or pay you to do that. And really, all it is really testing their how true they are and how true of a company they are, essentially. At the end of the day, and it all comes back to you, right? It all comes back to you. Just do you do homework? Are you involved? Are you aware? And so forth and so on. Average stream bit rate too high. But does that mean my internet's too fast? I never seen that before. Anyways, so yeah, you need to be aware. And it was four. Oh wow! I happened to look at my camera right when it was 4 hours, 44 minutes, and 44 seconds. That's hilarious. But yeah, be aware. pay attention. Know what you're talking about. Be aware that false alphas exist. They've always existed. Once upon a time, girls wouldn't open your legs unless you were married at some point because of this bullshit that would happen. And there's no point in getting with a girl. It's like, why do trick or treating if the street isn't offering candy? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna go down that road. What's the point? That's what marrying these girls these days is, basically. It's because all the candy is gone, and all of the anything is gone, and just fake and pretend bullshit, pretty much. So it's like, what the fuck is the point? Like, that girl that's talking, I get with her, maybe. I talk to her, you know what I'm saying? It's whatever. Like, I may not be able to look at her naked, but I don't care. I just keep your clothes on, put your pants down a little bit. I'll take it like that, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be perfect, but if you, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, and the point is because that is going to come up, obviously, and the point is have value in that field because it's going to come up at some point. And basically, yeah, like she's proven herself to know a thing or two, and she's smarter than most girls. I guarantee you that. I know that just from her position and her talking about whatever she's talking about, you know. So that way. But anyways, grab another one. Bam. Be well, be happy, be safe, be strong. God bless. Praise all. I praise Yevon. Praise my goldfish. Be well, be happy, be safe. Be awesome, be strong, be intelligent. Be intelligent. Above all, be intelligent. Right? Ground news isn't needed, sure, whatever, but just shut up. Simple, shut up. If you don't know, shut up. Everyone wants to pretend, everyone wants this, everyone wants that, and confirm, make sure they know what the hell they're talking about. Don't get tricked by bullshit. That's simple as that. But yeah, that's the problem. Fake it to make it is become mainstream to the point it's actually working. Anyways, I'm out, so take care. Peace out. Bye. Now,